Okay, how do you imagine the end of all things? I mean, the literal end of the world. It might not be the brightest of topics, but admit it, you've thought about it in your spare time. Me? Well, the good news about the end of the world for me would be I could quit going to the dentist. I would eat all the chocolate I like, and I'd throw away my cable bill. Really, it's not going to happen very soon. It's just one of those things that randomly pop into your mind, and the minds of other folks too. Scientists have theorized that all life on Earth is going to be wiped out by the sun. But hold on, what do we know about the sun? Well, it's basically a huge generator. It gives us light, warmth, and even an endless supply of safe energy, which we're currently mastering. Now, without the sun, there wouldn't be any life on Earth at all. And with all these perks, it's not hard to forget that it's a giant ball of fire that could easily burn us all down in a matter of seconds. Well, for some reason though, it still hasn't done so. So how come? You see, as stars go, our sun is quite young. It's only 4.6 billion years old, and it's now in the phase when it's most stable, like a person in their 30s or 40s. Anyway, there is an area around the sun called a habitable zone. It's the distance at which water on the planets around the star can still be liquid, and with that, life can exist there. Our planet obviously is inside this habitable zone of the sun, while Venus, for example, is not. The heat of the star is just right for the seas and oceans to remain in the form of water, not vapor or ice. But like any other star, the sun is constantly changing. The energy it gives off results from burning, and very hotly at that. It's only warm and cozy from a distance, but once you get too close, well… Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to roast! And on top of that, the reactions of burning hydrogen, and that's what happens with any star, are different from burning, say, wood or charcoal. A star has an extremely hot core surrounded by layers upon layers of gas and dust, which burn and do all the shining. But what happens to stuff when it burns? Right you are, it gets destroyed. And so do these layers around the sun. As they deplete, they expand too, and the star grows bigger with every passing minute. It does so in a very slow manner though. That's why we can't see it. But we can definitely feel the consequences of this expansion. The sun has an incredibly big influence on everything on Earth, and it isn't limited to just light and warmth. The energy the sun gives to our planet heats the surface and the atmosphere alike, and it drives the weather across the globe. As weird as it sounds, there would simply be no rain without the sun. Just think about it. Rain comes down from the clouds, which are basically massive puddles of water floating high up in the sky. But how does all this water end up there? Well, it evaporates from the surface of the planet. To do that, it needs to heat up, and that's where the sun comes into play. Its warmth makes water vapor rise from seas and oceans and form clouds in the atmosphere. So, no sun means no clouds. But that isn't all there is. As the sun heats the surface of the Earth, it starts all sorts of processes on and beneath it. It may sound crazy, but even volcano eruptions and earthquakes are the result of the sun's activity, or at least in part. On top of that, the sun's radiation powers the winds in the atmosphere, the currents in the oceans, and creates a steady temperature across the planet, depending on the angle of the sun to Earth, of course. Now that you know how enormous the influence of the sun is, imagine what would happen to our planet if it expanded by several percent. First, the borders of the habitable zone would shift. Even a 5% increase in the size of our star would make our planet much different from what we have now. Its surface would get hotter, water would evaporate in more copious amounts, and the climate would change drastically. There's no telling how exactly different the Earth would look, but it would not be the planet we know. Still, it would at least survive, and we might still be around to see those changes. Well, maybe not me. What we wouldn't be able to witness is a 10% expansion of the sun. As you might have guessed, the habitable zone would move again, and this time the Earth would be expelled from it. Or it's better to say life would get to the point of no return, too close to the Sun. When our star gets 1.1 times bigger, its heat would become too much for water to stay liquid, so the oceans would evaporate and the surface would become so hot that no living thing would be able to take it. The air would also become too hot to breathe. Our planet would virtually turn into a scorched piece of space rock. Man, where have I seen that movie? Well, the good news is that for some period of time, Mars would then enter the habitable zone instead. So, if people eventually find a way to colonize the red planet, they will be able to escape the sad fate of its home world. The rise in temperatures would shift the gears in Mars's inner mechanisms, possibly even turning it into Earth too. It would have a different time pattern, and it would most certainly need some adjustments for humans to live safely on its surface. But Mars could become our new home. And hey, having 2 moons instead of 1? It's awesome. Yet, it still wouldn't be a permanent solution. Like I said before, the more hydrogen the Sun burns, the bigger it becomes. After some more time, it would consume Mars too, and that would probably be the end of its growth. The Sun would finally become a red giant before shrinking down to a white dwarf. It's a process that occurs when a star is running out of fuel. Its core gets stripped from the gas and dust that surrounded it previously, and all this stuff flies free into space. Then, at the end of its life, the core begins to shine brighter than ever, with the cloud of particles it just released catching fire too. This last phase is called a planetary nebula, and it's so bright that it can be seen from millions of light-years away. And when the core stops shining, the Sun will at last be no more. Okay, so that explains how the Sun will wipe out our planet. But what about when it'll happen? Well, it seems we don't have to worry that much about it yet. You might remember what I said a bit earlier. Our Sun is about 4.6 billion years old now, and from what astronomers can predict, it will take another 10 billion years to become a planetary nebula. As for the 10% growth, which will bring the end to all life on Earth, scientists currently think it will take place in about 1 billion years from now. A much shorter time span for sure, but no less far away. I don't plan on being around for that. Given today's technical progress, I'll bet humanity will find a way to colonize other planets way before it's too late. And still, there's something that bothers some researchers in the Sun's behavior right now. There are flashes on its surface that release powerful radiation into space and towards the Earth. So far, our atmosphere, along with rain clouds, has protected us from this radiation. But if, for some reason, our planet is stripped of these protective layers, gamma rays straight from the Sun will scorch the Earth. Now, I'm not saying greenhouse effect is good, mind you. I'm just reminding you that everything in the world and the universe happens for a scientific reason. If a particular powerful beam of radiation reaches the Earth, gases in the atmosphere just might disperse it enough to make it harmless. On the other hand, as the growth of greenhouse gases produced by humans continues, we are facing a global change of climate, a much more present threat. Although deserts might bloom and the permafrost of the Arctic and the Antarctic might even turn into a lush jungle, for us humans, such a change could mean a complete restructuring of the world. Also, climate change won't come peacefully. It'll trigger lots and lots of natural disasters, such as hurricanes, rising sea levels, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, wildfires, and tsunamis. We are already seeing these effects, by the way, because records show hurricanes have become more frequent since the beginning of the 20th century. The water in the oceans gets warmer because of human activity, and that's how we cause hurricanes ourselves. So, what about you? What do you think is the most likely scenario for our planet in the years to come? Let me know your views down in the comments. Hey, if you learned something new today, then give this video a like and share it with a friend. But hey, don't go terraforming Mars just yet. We have over 2,000 cool videos for you to check out. Just click on this left or right video and enjoy. Stay on the bright side of life.